Host on camera, calm but serious tone. Visuals show a young adult sitting alone in an apartment, city lights outside the window. Being single is often sold as freedom. Total independence. No compromises. Do what you want, when you want. But there's a side of being alone that rarely gets talked about, and it's not emotional, it's financial. There's something economists quietly call the singles tax, and whether you realize it or not, if you're alone, you're probably paying it every single day. Visuals cut to grocery store prices, rent listings, and utility bills. Think about rent. A one-bedroom apartment doesn't cost half as much as a two-bedroom shared by a couple. Utilities don't magically cut themselves in half either. Internet, electricity, heating, water, all paid by one person. When you're single, there's no one to split the bills with. You're not living large, you're just paying more per person for the same basic survival. Host walking through a grocery store aisle. Now let's talk about food. Buying groceries for one is surprisingly expensive. Bulk deals don't make sense. Food goes bad faster. Cooking for one costs more per meal than cooking for 2 or 4. Restaurants don't offer single discounts. Family-size savings aren't designed for people who live alone. Being single often means wasting food or spending more to avoid waste. Visuals show tax forms and a paycheck breakdown. Even the tax system favors couples. Married couples can file jointly, access higher deductions, and sometimes pay less overall tax. Single people often hit higher effective tax rates with fewer benefits. There's no single filing bonus. You work the same hours, earn the same money, but keep less of it. Host sitting at a desk, laptop open. Healthcare is another hidden cost. Employer health plans often subsidize family coverage more generously than individual plans. Single people absorb the full emotional and financial burden of medical bills alone. No shared emergency fund. No second income if something goes wrong. One illness can derail everything. Visuals shift to social situations. Weddings, parties, holidays. Then there's the social cost. Weddings require +1 gifts. Holidays mean travel expenses with no cost sharing. Vacations are more expensive alone. Hotel rooms, rental cars, tours, all priced with couples in mind. Society assumes you'll split the cost. When you don't, you pay the premium. Host speaks directly to camera, empathetic tone. And here's the part no one likes to admit. Being single often means carrying all responsibility yourself. There's no backup, no shared risk, no one to help absorb financial shocks. Couples can take turns being strong. Singles have to be strong all the time. Visuals show a confident individual walking through the city. But this isn't about shaming single life. Independence has value. Freedom has value. Self-reliance builds strength. The problem is pretending the cost doesn't exist. When we ignore the singles tax, we blame individuals instead of systems. We call people irresponsible instead of acknowledging the structural disadvantage. Host leans forward slightly, more hopeful tone. The real truth is this. Being alone isn't a failure, but it is expensive. Emotionally and financially. And recognizing that cost is the first step toward planning better, budgeting smarter, and demanding fairer systems that don't quietly punish people for not pairing up. Visuals fade to sunset skyline. So if you're single and feeling like money is always tighter than it should be, you're not imagining it. You're not behind. You're just paying a price most people never see, the true cost of being alone. Host looks into camera, slight nod. And once you see it, you can finally stop blaming yourself for a system that was never designed with you in mind. Host on camera, relaxed but serious. Visuals show a quiet apartment at night, city noise muffled through the window. Being alone is often framed as a lifestyle choice, a phase, or even a luxury. We're told it means freedom, independence, and self-discovery. And in many ways, that's true. But what rarely gets discussed is the price tag attached to that independence. Not emotionally, but financially. There's a hidden cost that quietly drains your bank account if you live alone, and it's something economists casually refer to as the singles tax. Visuals cut to scrolling rent prices on a phone screen. Start with housing, because that's where most people feel it first. Rent doesn't scale fairly for one person. A one-bedroom apartment doesn't cost half of what a couple pays for a two-bedroom. In many cities, it's barely cheaper at all. Add in security deposits, renter's insurance, parking fees, and maintenance costs, and suddenly one income is carrying the same weight two incomes usually share. Host walking through an apartment, flipping light switches and adjusting the thermostat. Utilities don't care that you're alone. Electricity, heat, air conditioning, internet, water, trash, none of these are priced per person. You pay the base cost regardless. When a couple splits these bills, it feels manageable. When you're single, it feels like every service is charging you a penalty for existing solo. Visuals shift to a grocery store with price tags highlighted. Food is another silent expense. Grocery stores are built for families and couples. Buy one item and it costs more per unit. Buy in bulk and half of it goes bad before you can finish it. Meal prepping for one sounds efficient until you're eating the same thing for 5 days or throwing food away. Cooking at home doesn't always save money when you're feeding only yourself. Host at a restaurant, sitting alone at a table. Eating out isn't easier either. No shared appetizers. No splitting the check. No 2-for-1 deals. Restaurants design their pricing around sharing, and when you don't, you pay full price every time. Even coffee shops assume you're meeting someone, not sitting alone calculating how much a latte costs compared to groceries. Visuals show a paycheck breakdown and tax software on screen. Then there's taxes. The system openly rewards couples. Married people can file jointly, qualify for larger deductions, and often pay lower effective tax rates. Single filers don't get those advantages. You can earn the same income, work the same hours, and still take home less simply because you're alone. There's no tax credit for independence. Host sits at a desk, medical bills spread out. Healthcare is where the singles tax becomes dangerous. Employer-sponsored plans frequently subsidize family coverage more heavily than individual plans. Singles pay higher premiums per person and carry the full risk alone. One medical emergency can wipe out years of savings. There's no second income to fall back on, no shared deductible, no one else absorbing the shock. Visuals transition to a wedding invitation, then a packed suitcase. Social life has a cost too. Weddings mean gifts without a +1 to split expenses. Holidays mean travel, hotels, and meals paid solo. Vacations cost more alone than as a couple. Hotel rooms aren't cheaper for one person. Rental cars cost the same. Tours and experiences are priced with pairs in mind. Host walking through an airport alone. Even entertainment assumes partnership. Concert tickets, streaming subscriptions, gym memberships, phone plans, many discounts start at 2. Being single often means paying full price for everything, everywhere, all the time. Visuals show a single person fixing a leaky faucet, assembling furniture. Working late. And then there's labor. When you're alone, you do everything. Every chore, every repair, every errand. There's no division of labor. Time becomes money, and you spend more of both just to keep life running. If something breaks, you pay someone or learn to fix it yourself. Host speaks directly to camera, tone more personal. But the biggest cost isn't on a receipt. It's risk. Couples share risk. They share job loss, illness, emergencies, and unexpected expenses. Singles absorb all of it alone. If you lose your job, there's no second income. If you get sick, there's no backup plan. Financial pressure hits harder when there's no one to lean on. Visuals show scrolling social media posts of couples buying homes. We often compare ourselves to couples and feel behind. They buy homes sooner. They save faster. They recover quicker from setbacks. It's easy to internalize that as failure. But it's not about effort. It's about math. 2 incomes change everything. Host nods slowly. Society quietly treats being single as temporary or incomplete, but structures everything around partnership. When singles struggle financially, the narrative blames personal choices instead of systemic imbalance. Work harder, budget better, hustle more. Rarely do we acknowledge that the game itself is tilted. Visuals show a confident single person walking through the city. And yet, being single also builds resilience. It forces financial awareness. It sharpens decision-making. It teaches self-reliance. Independence isn't free, but it does create strength. The problem isn't being alone. The problem is pretending there's no cost. Host leans forward slightly. When we talk honestly about the singles tax, something changes. Guilt fades. Shame disappears. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "How do I plan smarter within this reality?" Awareness becomes